Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajakacharya Astutara Sutta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Ma Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Bestaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nirvishesa Sannivari Pasaka Jatesita. Hare Krishna. Welcome back on this is my third evening. And tomorrow evening will be the last opportunity I have to speak to you all. I hope everyone is here then. I was waiting for Bhakti Marg Maharaj and Chandramani Maharaj. Maharaj had some things he wanted to.
Should I call him? Okay.
No, not at all. No, and Jai. This is our inspiration. Jai Maharaj. Over the last couple of days, there were so many topics we could speak about, things that have jogged my memory. I'll just show you a list. I put down humble, Kurukshetra, puffed rice, money my son, I did that. More topics on sannyas, many dreams, 10th class man, I heard that, 4th class, 10th class. And Cardinal Danieletta. And Prabhupada's, of course, his humility. Prabhupada's humility. I like one thing, Sachinandana Maharaj, he used one expression that he found somewhere. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. Which is a very nice definition of humility. As soon as we're thinking about ourselves, there's not a lot of humility there, because we're the center. So Prabhupada, of course, Krishna was always the center. So automatically, humility is there. Real humility, it just comes from realization, it comes from God realization. You know, when Prabhupada said these, so humble, it's humility is just understanding our position in relationship to Krishna. Otherwise, we're puffed up. That's why Prabhupada could say, I'm servant of everyone. That's how he felt. It's genuine. Not just trying to make a point, give you an example. These are feelings, true feelings of a Vaishnava. So, we're all assembled. Gora, he had his hand up most yesterday evening and I never acknowledged him. So please, my brother Gora Prabhu.
Can I?
Do whatever you.
So I've spent the last 7 years on Facebook searching for all of Srila Prabhupada's all of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. And the latest one that I've contacted is Paramahansa Prabhu. I believe it was Paramahansa and Parivrajakacharya Prabhu.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And when I told Paramahansa Prabhu, who lives up now in Oregon, that I was looking forward to hearing from Srutakirti Prabhu at this engagement. This is what Paramahansa Prabhu had to say.
Hare Krishna.
When you see Srutakirti, please give him a massive bear hug from me, which I think I did already.
Yes, multiple.
And tell him that he is the very best. Capital B-E-S-T. There is nobody like him. He's truly one of a kind person on earth. He is like a spiritual giant, in my opinion. Oh, hold on.
Go on.
Very, very humble and kind, and never seeking any glory himself. Yet he always stands in the very center of all glory. What a guy. It was a real pleasure to travel with him and Prabhupada, like an unreal dream of dramatic proportions. I will never forget. And
And I said, I will look forward to giving him a bear hug from you and Gemma, and I will tell him he is the very best. Tell me more about him during your travels, and I will tell the devotees about it during the retreat we're having. What are some of the things that stand out about Srutakirti and Prabhupada?
All right, bro. Did he say it?
I'm almost done. Paramahansa Prabhu says, Srutakirti is magical. He can do stuff that others really cannot. Like, for example, he could cook a meal much faster than anyone. His mindset for it was very calm and very sublime. He never lost his cool. He always stayed calm, and he always seemed to know exactly what he was doing and why. And I said, thank you for all this info about Srutakirti Prabhu. Prabhupada called him Shruto. I think many others would crack being directly under Prabhupada's vigilance and beck and call. Paramahansa said, I always figured that he was an empowered individual with magical abilities. Prabhupada liked him very, very much. He was the favored servant of all time, since he could get things done in a very calm and timely manner. Always he came through, and very seldom did he disappoint the master. Simply amazing. I learned a lot from him about focus and deliberate creation. He knew how to do. I said, yes, I like to call him Shruto too, as I heard Prabhupada call him that always. It seemed to fit him perfect. Oh no, this is him saying, yes, I like to call him Shruto too, as I heard Prabhupada call him that always. It seemed to fit him perfectly. Shruto, yes, you are correct. Many would be crushed by Prabhupada's sheer intensity and gravity. Yet Shruto held up real strong and loved to serve. His pleasure in serving was simply magnificent. I said, wow, the favored servant. Is this a completed statement he knew how to do? Yes, Shruto knows how to do what is needed. He does it well. Last paragraph. Yes. Yes, there is no question in my mind.
You're all getting your money back at the end of this session.
He was by far the favorite servant up close with Prabhupada, no question, hands down winner. Shruto! I believe that the first time I met Shruto was in 1972 in Vrindavan. Hariva Jakacharya and myself were circumambulating the tulsi plants outside of Prabhupada's room at Radha Damodar, and Shruto popped open the doors and said, hi, come on in and have some darshan. He is ready. There was nobody else there, and we had a wonderful visit. Then Jamuna came in and asked if we were staying for lunch. Prabhupada said yes, and we were delighted. What a magical day that was. It was the same day he offered us sannyas.
Whoa. So, they went in the room. They were the only two people walking around. He was 1972, I'm 21 years old. He's younger than I am. He's a brahmachari, and his good friend, Parvajacharya. And they're walking around, and Prabhupada said, who are they? You know, because no one else is there. There's, like I said, a big festival, 30 or 40 devotees. You know, this was like the first Kartik festival, official. But they're mostly everybody's staying at Keshika Palace. We say palace. Everyone's struggling very much, taking care of themselves. But here are these two boys walking around in here, and Prabhupada said, who are they? You know, so I opened the door, and that's what ensued. So they go in and they offer obeisances, and Prabhupada's saying, you know, like, who are you? What are you doing here? Where are you coming from? Where do you come? They said, well, they were also traveling in South India and preaching independently. And he said, well, what are your plans? Well, we're thinking we're going to go to Vietnam. Okay, 1972. They want to go preach in Vietnam. This is where we were, you know, war was going on. America was engaged in war. Bombs are flying, fire, bombing everything. And Prabhupada's eyes just grew. You know, you could see the whites of his eyes. And he said, Acha, Vietnam? And he asked Prabhupada, And he looked at them. So maybe you should take sannyas. Well, they were like, you know. Now you can imagine being in ISKCON for years, so you're a 20-year-old male, and you're in front of your spiritual master in Vrindavan, and he says, maybe you should take sannyas. I mean, they hadn't thought of it, although I'm sure it sounded like Kirtananda saying to me, would you like to be Prabhupada's servant? So the reaction was very similar, like, wow. We knew if you wanted to eat well, you had to take sannyas. That was a given. 1972. So Prabhupada could see even their apprehension, because it was shocking. And then he said, okay, he said, you go before Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir and you chant there, and you pray to him, and you wait for your answer. Prabhupada knew everything. As he said, this society, ISKCON, he said, began here in my rooms. He called it Hayagriva, who, very poetic, said Prabhupada called it the hub of the wheel of the spiritual world. The very center of the spiritual world. He describes it in his book. And Prabhupada said, because it's here Rupa Goswami started the Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada began his society there with the blessings of Srila Rupa Goswami. So that's where he had them go to chant. So they come back the next day. Yes, Prabhupada, you know. He said, well, now you can go. He sent them the Krishna Das Kaviraj Samadhi. So each day he would send them right there at Radha Damodar temple. All the great acharyas. So finally they came back. He's saying, so, yes, Prabhupada, we'll take sannyas. That's when I first met the Swami. He became my very good friend. If you see his picture with Prabhupada, very round face. It is a joy. Called me like a cherub, you know, he was like a little angel, very innocent. And so Prabhupada said, okay, good. He said, you tell Shyama Sundar, we're going to have an initiation ceremony on Rasa Leela evening in the temple. Others were being initiated, sannyas, first initiation, second initiation. Prabhupada was showing everyone in Vrindavan who he was, what he could do, turn us into Vaishnavas. He was proud, and he wasn't embarrassed of his Western disciples. In front of us, he would say, but for the public, he was proud of us, very proud. So he said, tell Shyama Sundar. He said, he has to get you cloth and your sticks, your bamboo sticks. Yes, Prabhupada. So Paramahamsa, again, he's only like 19, maybe 18, this young. Shyama Sundar's 30 years old now. There's a vast difference. He's been with Prabhupada for 10 years, practically. So he goes up to Shyama Sundar. Prabhupada says to take us to Loi Bazaar. We're getting sannyas. Shyama Sundar looks at him, he just laughs in their faces. Like, you're not taking sannyas. He said, Prabhupada didn't say anything to me, which that's, you know. He said, well, he told me to come to you. Hey, I'll talk to Prabhupada. So, of course, he goes to Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, yes, they're getting sannyas. So this became a topic in Vrindavan at the time, because this is also Guru Kripa, Yashodanandan. You know, they were the preaching in South India, making life members. They came back with the mantras. That was 1972. They were actually the first two swamis that came in with this Southern Indian, the melody, everything. They were going there. So they weren't happy that these boys, nobody even knew these two, like these characters, just somehow or other get into Prabhupada's room. Now they're getting sannyasas, and they don't even know how to chant mantras. Can't even say the mantras. Anyway, it happened. And they took sannyas that evening. They never went to Vietnam. They couldn't get in. They did go to Iran, and that's where Parvajakacharya came in touch. He was a big yogi, and he got in touch with the Iran's daughter, the Shah of Iran at that time. That was before his overthrow. So they were very successful there by Prabhupada's blessings. And then I didn't see him for a while. I was traveling with Prabhupada and he was off in his thing. Then all of a sudden he becomes Prabhupada's secretary. You know, we were together for about 6 months, and we were like two of a kind. You know, we were very, Prabhupada was an easygoing kind of guy. So when he became Prabhupada's servant, or secretary, it was in Juhu. So now he's big, he's like over 6 feet, you know, he was, you know, healthy. So he would come into Prabhupada's room in the flat, he'd plop down. So just, when when you just came in and you figured what you're supposed to do, you know, you were on your own. So that's what he did. Get Paramahamsa, he'd plop down. So this went on for 3 days. So finally, one day he comes in, and he's chanting mantras as well. He learned mantras. I guess he heard Guru Kripa through the ether. So now that's what he's doing. He's so excited to be with Prabhupada. And finally Prabhupada goes, "Get up!" He said, "Sit up. How are you going to get anything done? You lying on the floor." So that was the last time he was lying on the floor. Right away when you were talking, I was thinking about what a character he was. We were in Caracas, Venezuela at the temple for a week. So somehow or other Prabhupada comes up with this idea. He wants his Mercedes. This is when he wanted his Mercedes in India. Right? And I don't know how Prabhupada got the idea, whether someone said something to him, I don't know what it was. But he said, "Look into it." To his secretary. It was, you know, you look into it. That's what the secretary did. So it wasn't a lot of time went by, and he comes back into Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada says, "Well, what did you find out? What did you discover?" And he said, "Well, Prabhupada, we're in South America." He said, "And Mercedes, of course, is built in Germany. It would be much more practical, you know, to buy them there and drive them overland like that." And Prabhupada said, "That's not what I asked you." He said, "I asked you to find out about getting Mercedes-Benz here and getting them to India." And he said, "Never mind." He said, "You're superfluous." Prabhupada said to Paramahamsa, "You're superfluous." He said, "Go." So Paramahamsa Tava isn't in the room. Paramahamsa comes out, he looks at me. He said, "What's superfluous mean?" So I told him, Prabhupada said I was superfluous. I said, "Well, he didn't do what he wanted." So before we were there, anyway, as you can see, him and I, we got along very well. I mean, he was very flattering, you know, he's a very wonderful devotee, so he saw me as being very nice. But we did have a lot of fun together, and for some reason or another, we released a lot of anxiety between ourselves, him and I, because we would be at these kirtans with hundreds of people, and we would always, you know, he would be on one side of the Vyasa Sanga, I'd be on the other. Many times if we were traveling, he would have the mridanga, I'd have the kartals, or vice versa. But as we were doing kirtan, we would sometimes look at all the other devotees, and we would try to pick out the most ecstatic devotee. That was so we'd look at someone and he'd go, because many times devotees, so these are the things we were doing, you get the picture. We were just silly, you know. And so we would be like, and we'd laugh. I mean, we actually were laughing, and I'm sure it was very much like a relief valve or something we were going through, you know, because as he said, being with Prabhupada was a challenge. So anyway, we're in Mexico City, same temple still there. Prabhupada has a veranda, open veranda, so he would take his massage there. The sun would be coming in, so it would be late morning. And Paramahamsa, he would come in and out, again, with letters, Prabhupada letters, talking to him. So for some reason, it was one of those situations. So I'm behind Prabhupada, sitting comfortably, I'm rubbing his back. Everything always happened when I was rubbing Prabhupada's back. Fortunately, it wasn't a face-to-face contact. I'm rubbing his back, and he comes in with this silly grin on his face. As soon as he sees me, he's kind of smiling and almost giggling, you know. So he comes in with that silly grin, and he plops down, and then he sits up, and again he looks at me, and he just smiles. And I started laughing uncontrollably. I never stop massaging Prabhupada, but I'm laughing, looking at him. So he starts laughing because I'm laughing. So the two of us, are just laughing and laughing and laughing. And Prabhupada goes, "What's so funny?" Boom. Got very quiet very fast. And I'm still rubbing, and I'm looking at him saying, "Speak up, you're the big secretary Swami here. I'm a grahasta, I'm a no one." So I'm like, and he's just sitting looking at Prabhupada. He's like, and I said, "Prabhupada," I don't know. I said, "Sometimes I just see Paramahamsa, and he makes me laugh." I'm rubbing, and now it's quiet. Paramahamsa's not even asking questions. We're all just like in this. And Prabhupada goes, "Laughing is a Vaishnava activity." He said that about swimming as well. That's another story I can tell you. He said, "Laughing's a Vaishnava activity." And I'm like, okay. It's good. And now we're sitting, and he said, "My father." Now he starts telling out of nowhere. He said, "My father." He said, "When I was young, he was always with his father." He always tells these stories. "When I was with my father," like you could just see him and his father, like walking down the streets of Calcutta. And they go places. He said, "My father, he would give, of course, donations." He said to the Paramahamsas along the Ganga. I guess they were walking along, he would take a walk. He said, and his father deliberately, he would give things to them. He would make offerings. He said to the Paramahamsas. And then he says, and of course we know his father, what he always asked for, that my son become a servant of Srimati Radharani. He didn't say that, he just kept saying my father would give offerings. He says, and sometimes he would give ganja to the Paramahamsas along the Ganga. Now Paramahamsa and I are like, and I'm like, and he says, yes. He says, because ganja, he says, it can help control your senses. And we're thinking, wow, why isn't this in the books? Like, we're both looking. And they're thinking, he said, yes. And then he looks right at Paramahamsa Swami and he says, but not you, Paramahamsa. And then he starts laughing and laughing, and then he's slapping his, because he got one over on it. And he's laughing and tears are coming, and we're like, so he just flipped the whole thing around in 2 minutes from us laughing at absolutely nothing and saying, yes, that's very nice, Vaishnavas, that's what we do. And then he played this total trick on us, talking about smoking marijuana to control your senses. Imagine how many people we would have in our society if that was like one of the 5th regulative principles. Only a little bit, but every day you have a little, just a little puff to, just settle you down. So Paramahamsa, I see him like 10 years ago. I hadn't seen him for, what was it, we're talking about 75 to, 10, 30 years, 25 years I didn't see him. And we made a special trip. Vaisheshika took me to see him. We drove from San Francisco, 10 hours or something. Vaisheshika this was, again, like 15 years ago. He was driving me crazy, chanting all the time, having morning programs in the car, making me read Krishna book. And then I found out he was genuine. I thought, okay, this is a one-day thing. Like, he must have had a lot of coffee or something. But then this guy is special. Vaisheshika, he's a special person. So we get up there, and me and Paramahamsa are talking. So he talks about that story. And he said, Sruti, he said, I joined. He said, I was celibate. He said, I was never even on a date. He was, 17 or something. He said, but I have one attachment. Marijuana. So Prabhupada knows everything, and he just knows how to get the most out of everything. So that was Paramahamsa. We had a very wonderful time being with Prabhupada, and then We traveled all through, again, South America, Mexico City. I got to Caracas. I told you I had been in Caracas when I left Prabhupada for 6 months. So I knew Javi, I knew everyone there. And so when we arrived, I was so happy to see all my old friends that I had known. And even happier that they got to see me with Prabhupada. You know, that was that. So we arrive in the temple. Prabhupada sits down on the Vyasa, and I was, you know, would have his glasses, his cane, you know, his whatever. If he had his chatter, put it on, take it off. They were all my responsibilities as we would enter and exit places. But there's all these devotees I know, and I'm just kind of smiling, and, you know, Prabhupada me. And all of a sudden, something hits me in the head. And Prabhupada had taken his socks off by himself, rolled them in a ball, and threw them at me. Just to let me know, you know, come back to reality, boy. You weren't the one flown here, it's me up here in this Vyasa. So it was always so much fun. So that's okay, I just had to say something about our Paramahamsa. We were quite good, and we're still very good friends who very infrequently get in touch, but he always exchanges very big bear hugs for me. Yeah. So Maharaj, did you have... Oh yes, so that was one of the most amazing events that occurred in so many different ways. So I'll try to tell it in a way to keep everyone focused on this story, because you have to pay attention, kind of. We left Mexico City, which was wonderful. Again, so many pious people, devotees there. You know, with some in their 40s, 50s, 60s even, becoming devotees. So an elderly lady, she asked Prabhupada at the end of a lecture, because again, when Prabhupada on the Vyasa said, you have to remember Krishna at the time of death. This whole process is to bring us to that, so you can remember Krishna. So she asked Prabhupada, what if we don't remember Krishna? She said, what if we remember you? Prabhupada said, that's okay. He said, that's all right. So we left there, and it was the morning. It was a morning flight, so we didn't even get much prasadam. Had a little fruit and left. And one lady gave me a bag, brown paper bag, and in it was puffed rice, just in aluminum foil, muri, spiced. And so that's all we had for the flight. So as soon as the plane's off the ground, the sign goes off, seatbelt sign goes off, the tray table goes down, and Prabhupada's at the window. I'm sitting in the middle, and Paramahamsa, my friend, he's right next to me at the aisle. And we're towards the back of the plane. And so Prabhupada, as soon as okay, means do it all. So I put down his table, I open up this aluminum foil, and it's just puff rice and peanuts and chaunts, so it's yellowish. And Prabhupada, one of his favorite preparations, so he's enjoying it. As soon as it's there, he just puts his hand and starts eating, and we're just sitting. And then here you go, okay, so that means it's yours. This one, fortunately, I didn't blow this, I kept there weren't any silver plates, so I didn't have to worry about eating off the Lord's plates. So I just brought it in front of me, I rip it in half for me, half for Paramahamsa. So and again, very unceremoniously, no one says, no Sarira Vijayajals by Prabhupada or anyone else on the airplane. We just very quietly, minding our own business, we all took prasadam. Prabhupada ate, so it's Mahaprasadam. Now we're eating. Prabhupada's Mahaprasadam. It's what we got every day. And while we're eating, this stewardess comes walking down, young lady, pretty, as Prabhupada would say, she was a pretty lady. She comes walking down and she stops right in front of Paramahamsa. And she reaches beyond him for some unknown reason into my plate and takes a handful of puffed rice and puts it in her mouth. So Paramahamsa's eating, Prabhupada just sitting there, and and she looks at me very, smile, very nice. What is this? Puffed rice. Oh, is there anything I can do for you? Why are you, why are we eating? Everybody else is just sitting on the plane waiting for the refreshments, and here we are, you know, looking like us, looking like Hare Krishnas in a plane in 1975. And I said, well, we're vegetarian. And that was all I said. And she goes, oh. She said, can I get you anything? She said, if I can go to first class and, you know, bring back a bowl of fruit or something. So I look at Prabhupada. He says, yes. Yes. I said, we'll all have fruit. So it always, you know, we'll all have fruit. And then she says, anything else? Hot milk. I said, we'll all have hot milk. So she goes, you know, 5-10 minutes later, she comes back. In the meantime, I'm Prabhupada. I said, that was amazing. He goes, women have natural tendency to serve. That's how he responded. He didn't answer my question. My statement was, this crazy lady took your puffed rice from my plate and ate it, you know, without any invitation, you know. But he didn't answer that. He responded to her serving, her offering her services. Because I guess he didn't even acknowledge it, that, you know, he wasn't going to get into that, you know, what she did, which obviously was directed by Super Soul. It's not something I'm sure she occasionally did, you know, just saw something she liked and figured, let me try it and talk to the people. No, it was a moment, you know. These are miracles, you know. I'm telling my godbrothers, I'm the most skeptical person there is. Even when I hear Prabhupada stories from others, you know, I have difficulty because of my own time with him, I guess we can say that. So anyway, now we had, you know, she comes back with everything. It's so nice she was, you know. We're all happily eating. I think we had some bread and cheese, or she just took care of us, you know. So that was that. Right, that's pretty amazing. So it was like 20 years later, I'm in Los Angeles, in New Dwarka at a Prabhupada festival, and I tell the story because it's a good story. It shows something Prabhupada's, just his, how he could make devotees just by being there, just his presence. One time on a long flight, he laid across the 3 seats on the airplane with his head by the window. So we would all get out of our seats. The planes were never full in those days. You know, very rarely were they full. So you could always move around. So we would give Prabhupada the whole aisle. Anyway, so we were sitting behind him, and Prabhupada laid down to rest. Like I said, he's like 5'5". So his feet were hanging over the edge of the seat into the aisle. And he's there for like 2 hours. And there has to be 20, 30 people brushing by his feet. And he doesn't move his feet, and he's not disturbed. And we're just, the 3 of us are just shaking. We're like the 3 Stooges. We're just shaking our heads thinking, all these people, they don't even know. Like, we can't touch Prabhupada's feet, you know, without Brahmananda, he would get his dunda that's that thick, you know. And I watched them, you know, people go for Prabhupada's feet, smash into their hands. So, but here's Prabhupada just giving all this mercy out. This was Prabhupada for everyone, like even the bug, the story, whoever's walking up and down, it doesn't matter, everyone. It's free to everyone. Anyway, I'm telling the same story. I talked it went for 2 hours, and so I was finished. And then one devotee comes up to me, you know, a godbrother, and he says, can I tell you a story? And I said, okay. You know, I was already sore, I wanted to, but I said, sure, yeah. So then he tells me about his Sankirtan days, you know, and he's traveling around some years ago, he said, in South America and Mexico, and I guess they were in Brazil, and he said it was always the same, because it's very different. You have it here, a little European style, villages, fountains in the center, you know, meeting areas like that. So that's what they did there in these small communities. He said in jeeps. So they'd go from one place to the other, and every place they'd have Harinam right in the center of town. And then they would go out in 3 or 4 jeeps, branch out, and they'd try to find the houses and distribute books, preach like that. So he said, I was deep in the rainforest, he said, and it came to one door, and they knocked on the door, and a woman opens the door and invites him in. Just, you know, bizarrely clad character. She invites him into the house and says, Hare Krishna. So he's like, you know, he's nowhere. It's like, you know, off the grid. And you know, her home is like a devotee home. So he says, you're a devotee, you're Hare. Yes, she said, I met Prabhupada on an airplane. I was a stewardess. So it was that woman. He met her 20 years later in the middle of nowhere. But they just connected, just so he could hear such an amazing event. So that one thing that started her, and why she did that was just her very good fortune, somehow or other, to, you know, be outside of the box. I like to say, sometimes people have said that about me. You sure are outside of the box. I'm sorry. Somebody had, just like you were describing, huh? Maharaj was describing, you know, Krishna has, you know, there's the unlimited and the limited. So there's in the box and out of the box. You know? So some of us are out of the box. But that was, you know, very wonderful to hear from him. Here was this woman, just took a little, Prabhupada's Maha Prasadam, you know. And Narada Muni, he always travels around. In fact, that fire sacrifice, Paramahamsa Swami, when they got their sannyas along with others in initiations, Prabhupada said that Narada Muni attended that fire sacrifice. It's not the only time he said it, but he said very definitely that you know, these different people, and Narada Muni, of course, he can go anywhere he wants, whenever he wants. So imagine, they were coming to see Srila Prabhupada spread this movement, to see the very beginning days. You know, this is what we're part of. And these devotees, all your children that keep coming, they're all devotees. They're all coming back. I told you, it was Paramahamsa and Nitai, the three of us. It went from, you know, Shaima Sundar, Pradyumna, Nanda Kumar days. Now it's like this we were like the second generation in the early days. You know, if you came 71, 72, you know, at least I felt that way, very different. And I associated with everyone from the earliest days because they were all Prabhupada's GBCs, sannyasis. So that's everybody I knew. But I didn't know any of them. You know, they were all hands off. So now it's Paramahamsa, me and Nitai, and we were like three stooges together. We were all younger. We had a very different mentality. We saw Prabhupada very differently from the early devotees. And I was going to say, what was I going to say? Anyway, it went along differently with the three of us. And of course, Nitai, he went his own way. He became famous in our society, asking Prabhupada for his blessings to take a guru in Radhakund. Prabhupada, I wasn't there for that event, but I've heard, I think many of you know, I guess, Prabhupada, I've heard it in two ways. Prabhupada said, you have my blessings. He said, you have my blessings to go to hell. You have my blessings to do business. Anyway, he certainly let him go. So this was Prabhupada. And it was, you know, to me, of course, as I say, people ask me what quality appreciate. Prabhupada's qualities, good qualities, are all magnified to such a degree. But my conclusion was loyalty was his greatest quality for me, for us. Because once he accepted you, he would never reject you. No matter how many times you reject him, we have that ability to not be chased, go away. And I saw some that had gone away. I saw Rishikeshananda come back from his godbrother's ashram, as a sannyasi, Prabhupada happy to take him back. It was always, that loyalty was there eternally. Imagine having this person, this personality, that the demigods are coming to his jagyas, his kirtans. He said in the early days, like we heard yesterday, Narada Muni was here. This personality, imagine that we think we need to do something else somehow or other to advance in Krishna consciousness. And we know that this over the years, this has been out there. For me, it's always astounded me how my godbrothers or sisters that went in that direction. And it's very sad that they felt they needed that, I guess. But one that was so close to him, because Prabhupada gave everything for all of us. And I just couldn't imagine even wanting to go in a different direction to find, as I said, I have difficulty reading others' books about Prabhupada because I have myself, being with him for so long, I have such a strong understanding that I want to have in my own way. But I loved hearing all these stories today. Maybe I have to ease up a little bit, you know. But anyway, sorry I went off on a little thing there, but I'm just trying to say how much is all you have to do is remain in Srila Prabhupada's society. As he said to me in various times, everything will be all right. You know, he'll take care. There's nothing else we need. And if you have that confidence in him and his followers, your guru who you may have, or who you're aspiring to, your shikshas, if you have that confidence, it's sufficient. You don't have to go outside. Everyone's welcome to do what they do. Myself, I'm very happy to come to all of Prabhupada's temples anywhere and see so many dedicated people. I see you devotees here, year after year, Paramahamsa and his wife, his son, putting on this festival for all of us. I told him, I said, I'll come every year if you ask me. I don't care where I am. I said, oh, whatever you want, I said I would do it. I'm just happy he allows me to come. I feel inspired by you devotees here. Okay. Was there anything Siddhanta, do you have anything? I can tell a story about Kurukshetra, Prabhupada and Kurukshetra. That's a pretty far out preaching story. Prabhupada preaching. Yes, Maharaj. Is there another microphone?
This is one of my favorite stories, and it has a really powerful message. The one about when you came off the plane and all the devotees were in
ecstasy.
Then later on you asked Prabhupada.
Yes. Did I say that here? No, I guess.
No, I don't think so.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
I actually I didn't, you're right, but okay, I can.
You kind of hinted on it, but you didn't.
Yeah, I did. I told the beginning, Prabhupada putting garlands on all of us. That was my description of that particular day. And I said it was a particularly bad day for me. I just, for some reason, even being next to Prabhupada, you know, and that's why, I said that's why separation is so nice, because it actually really increases your attachment, you know. So, as Prabhupada's approaching the doors, you can hear the kirtan in New Dwarka, 1973. Everyone's at the gate. Hundreds of devotees, probably 10 mridangas, you know, who knows. So you can hear it. And Prabhupada, again, leaves a space in front of him as he walks. He didn't, get in that crowd thing. You know, Prabhupada wasn't a crowder. Space, you know. We all have space we need around us, right? So whenever there was a space and someone would be coming out, they were always thinking it would be Prabhupada, because he always, you know, had a little gate, and so that's their imagine, this is how things were like, just the anticipation level of devotees to see Prabhupada, the way Krishna arranged things, just to every last bit of excitement, you know, he would drain out of the devotees, every bit of ecstasy. So as everyone's fought, you're always waiting for Prabhupada to come. I'm always on the other side. I never saw Prabhupada arrive. I was behind them, right behind them. So I always saw that view, which is a very beautiful view. But that day it was a horrible view, because everyone was in ecstasy and I was just miserable, right behind Prabhupada. I was totally just unhappy, like I had never felt since I left home and joined the movement. I was so unhappy. This was it was that intense in me. And I don't even know what happened. Dancing, jumping up and down, and Prabhupada would stand and he would look at Prabhupada had a way he could look at everyone. So everyone got that glance. Just a glance. That's all you needed. It was nourishment for us, Prabhupada's glance. And then devotees are jumping up and down, they're crying, they're laughing. And we're just zooming through the airport. I got Prabhupada's white bag and a chutter, and Prabhupada's walking. We get to the temple. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm very busy. I have to get everything ready. I have to get his lunch ready. Have to get ready, prepare his massage, lay out his clothes, get the suitcases. And Prabhupada's sitting down talking to the guests and all. And, then I come in. He says, "You ready for a massage?" Prabhupada was so wonderful. Sometimes he'd ring the bell. I'd come in, he'd say, "Can you give me a massage now?" And I'd look at him, say, "Prabhupada, I'm sitting in that room just waiting for something I would say to him, just waiting to do something." But he would ask so politely, such humility, like I could say no, because actually I could, You could, and he would accept it. He was so amazing. Anyway, so then I'm massaging him, and I still feel this cloud over my head. And I'm behind him. As I said, can't talk to him in front of him. It's much safer when you're behind him, for me. And I said, "Prabhupada," I said, "all these devotees," I said, "when you arrive at the airport," I said, "everyone has so much ecstasy. I said, everyone's so happy. And I said, they have such love for you." And Prabhupada's sitting, and I said, "Prabhupada, I don't feel anything." And I said, "I don't feel anything at all. I don't have any love." And I'm massaging him as I'm talking to him. And I can't see him. And of course, I was having a pity party. We say a pity party. I was feeling very sorry for myself. So I was waiting. I guess I was with Prabhupada now for literally 8 months. This was when all these things were happening, this was just 8 months. I mentioned to some devotees, everything I did from the time I became a devotee, there were 8-month segments. It went on for like 8 times, one after another. So I was ready to be gone, but Prabhupada saved me. But what didn't happen yet? He didn't say anything. So for the next half hour, I'm moving around his body, completely dejected. I just told him I don't even care about him. I don't love him. I'm miserable. And I'm massaging him all at the same time. I didn't give up my service. But I'm waiting for, I was waiting for him to comfort me, and he didn't, So then I go around, and I finish. He just sticks his hand out, doesn't say anything. Just sticks his hand out, I put the oil in, and he waddles off. He had a little, especially in the bare feet, he, like me, was a little bow-legged. And he would leave his oil footprints on the white tile floor as he walked across the room, Everything was just wonderful to see. So now you put mustard oil all over his feet, so he would walk and you see that. So now I'm very busy, of course. He's lay out his clothes, his coat, and go back to the cooker, do everything, take the lid off, chants 4 or 5 different preparations, get your chapati dough, which was ready, roll a few chapatis, get them ready. Prabhupada would bathe, then he went to his room, he would dress, everything you set up, then he would just walk right to the next room, sit down behind his desk, open up his mirror. He had a mirror, it had ivory carved on it. I'm not sure what it looked like, bamboo-ish stuff, but it was carved ivory in a silver compact mirror, the size of a compact. So that would be on his desk. Then he had a little silver bowl, ridges around it, like a shell. And in that he had a ball of tilak. He never had one of these little stainless steel things, you put the water in and the chandan and mix. No, he had a big ball of tilak, about the size of a golf ball. And then of course, he always kept it round. So that was in there. And next to it was a little lota, about half the size of a golf ball. So this was all part of what was in the white bag. So we put his, he had the mirror in his one hand and like that. And so then he would do that, and he'd sit up and chant Nun Gayatri. And then hopefully by the time he's pulling off his thumb from his thread, you're walking in the room. That's perfect timing. You're walking in the room with his lunch. He gets up and he sits down, not even looking at me. I'm, going, he's Prabhupada. And I'm so busy, and I'm just doing this, doing that, and in and out. go in and out with each chapati, going in, offer obeisances, put the chapati, he said 5 or 6 times. They're not, supersized, they're like regular chapatis. He liked them thin, of course puffed up, again with ghee on the top. So then all that goes on, and he finishes, I get his plate, I distribute all his Mahaprasadam, Prabhupada takes a little rest. So now I'm just lying in my room. And things were a little bit different, I guess. So then, from the massage, it's like 3 hours later, and the bell rings. And I go in the room, and I offer obeisances, and I'm almost blank now. And he looks at me, and he said, "Do you like your service?" I said, "Oh, yes, Prabhupada, very much." He said, "That's love." He said, "Service is love." He said, "Just do your service." He said, "Everything will be all right." He said, "Service is love." He said, "Everybody, they can all jump up and down." He said, "That's okay." He said, "But service, real love is service." He said, "So just do your service." I said, "Thank you, Prabhupada." I said, "Yes, Prabhupada." And he did. He saved me. I managed another 8 months before I had my next big trial. So that's and so many people. When they first read that story, were so happy, because that's what we think. We're just doing and doing and doing. Krishna doesn't come easily. You really have to want him. Nothing else. One of the first things with Prabhupada, again, we had like the way Prabhupada was able to say something so, the wit and the intelligence. So we're on a morning walk in Dallas. This is literally my first 2-3 days. And there's a very nice picture. Me next to Prabhupada, it's black and white, and I have his silk chadar, and I'm folding it. So this was one of the first instructions Prabhupada gave me. Imagine. We're on the morning walk, so the sun's rising, it gets a little warm, Prabhupada takes his chadar off, and he hands it to me. He just takes it off, So I get this jumbled up 6-foot long piece of cloth, and I just and he grabs it from me, and he folds it in half, and then and he said, "Like this," and he hands it back to me, and then I folded his chadar. So on the walk, of course, that was always the opportunity for people who never had an opportunity to ask Prabhupada a question, interact with him in any personal way. To do that, it was risky. If Prabhupada, that's one of you'd never start a conversation with your spiritual master. He talks to you, then the conversation begins. Otherwise, you're just quiet. You don't even exist. You're just like something he needs done, and there's things flying around doing it. You may as well be a spirit, because you're not supposed to interfere. Right? And as soon as he talks, then everything's available. I lost it, I'm sorry. Where was I?
Dallas?
Yes. So you want to talk to Prabhupada, but again, it's risky. I learned that very quickly. And I would always, and if I had questions, sometimes I would tell other people, ask Prabhupada. Anyway, there was this one young brahmachari, and you could see he wanted to ask Prabhupada something. I don't know what but you could tell. But he was afraid. And he didn't. So now we get back to the car. And Prabhupada would get into the back seat, so I opened the door of the car. Prabhupada gets into the back seat. This devotee is 5 feet away. They're all 5-10 feet away. And I got the door, I'm ready to shut it. "Prabhupada, how do I become Krishna conscious?" He got it out there. That was his question. How do I become Krishna conscious? Now I would have thought that wasn't a very, necessary question. But he wanted to talk to Prabhupada. So now we're standing there, and Prabhupada looks at him. And he said one word. And then he just turned back forward. And I shut the door. I walked around the back of the car, sat down, and we drove away. just like that. One word, he gave him one word, how to become Krishna conscious. No. Some of you know it. You should all have read my book and know this by heart. But it might not even be in there. Who knows? I don't know anymore. Because I don't read my book either. But he said one word. Okay, chant. No.
Love.
Love, that's a good one.
Cry. Associate.
Cry, associate. Desire. What else do we ever do? That's our only business. It's all the living entity does. We have no ability to... That's the one thing we have, huh? That's us. We desire all the time. And it's up to Krishna to fulfill our desires. Huh? Not a blade of grass moves. What to speak of us? We're a lot bigger than blades of grass. Huh? So we can't do anything. We desire. So all you have to do is desire to become Krishna conscious. But all those other ones on the other side, you got to give them up. You know, the nice house, the nice family, the good car, good whatever it is. If it's not connected with Krishna, it's of no use. So the answer was perfect in 1 second, because it all starts with your desire. Everything, every moment. Gora.
This reminded me of Srila Prabhupada's statement, first deserve, then
And desire,
desire.
yes.
If you could remember circumstances where Prabhupada may have said that.
Well, that was, oh, wow. I think I had to do with the Gopi Bhava Club. What a coincidence. Gora.
That was the
Yeah.
plan.
Yes, that was that time. When that was in Los Angeles, New York, I think it was 73, 74. So there was a club. It was the were you there then, Siddhanta? No, I don't know anything about that either. But there was a literal Gopi Bhava Club while Prabhupada was here.
I was there.
Okay. Well, maybe you want to give her the microphone, she can... No? Oh.
All I remember was that Prabhupada was angrier than Jagadish said. I've never seen him.
Yeah, I saw that 3 or 4 times, that type of anger. That was real anger. You know, there was chastising his disciples. That was just in your face, trying to have fun anger or something. He could get very angry. I mean, one time, it was one of the early ones, and it was in Los Angeles, and I described how I cooked in the room, and he was walking back and forth after breakfast. I was getting his lunch ready, and he looked under that table. There was a little wastebasket, and he saw orange peels in it. Whew. I mean, he looked at me. He said, "What is that?" He said, "You're cooking for the Lord, and you have that moochie eating orange peel under you?" He started calling me a malecha, rascal malecha. I mean, yelling. You know, what is wrong with you? Do they do that downstairs for the deities? No problem. And what are you doing? You're supposed to be a Brahmin, he said, and you have that in there? They were his remnants. The very first Mahaprasadam I had was a Prabhupada orange peel. Like, to me, they were, it was food. I wasn't eating it then. I guess I was just eating the inside. But so they were in there. I mean, he screamed at me, you know. And of course, I didn't even say anything. You know, I didn't try to defend myself, but I knew before I became his servant, never say anything to defend yourself, because I saw the previous servant do it. When I was going every day in the Prabhupada's room, I had that ability being with Kirtanananda. And his servant came in with his breakfast, because we went up right after breakfast. And that was when Kirtanananda, he introduced us to Prabhupada. This was besides getting first initiation, there was no personal introduction. Now I was personally introduced to Prabhupada, me and Kavadri. And all I remember was my hands on the floor, wet, you know, sweating. We offered obeisances, and Prabhupada looked at us, and of course he looked right at me, and he said, "What's your name?" And I hear Kirtanananda say, "Srutakirti Prabhupada." Yes, very nice boy. He gave us the plate came in, and he was walking in, his servant's walking in with the plate, and Prabhupada's yelling at him, "Why weren't you at class?" And Prabhupada, was preparing your breakfast. My breakfast? Cutting fruit? He said, anyone can do that. He said, you have to be at my class every day. See, that was when you were with Prabhupada, you had to take full advantage of your association with him. It's what he wanted. Not that you just hang out somewhere. He knew he was all powerful. If you just associate with him, hopefully you would be able to absorb something from him. But I saw that right away, and that's nowhere to go. And I saw it with Kirtanananda saying something in the garden when he said what Prabhupada means. Never use those terminology. So yes, that was being with Prabhupada. So now where are we back to, Gura? Gopi Bhava.
First is deserve, then desire.
So they would pick out selected verses from Prabhupada's book, Nectar of Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita, whatever it was, and they would sit and discuss these very elevated topics. So I don't know who informed Prabhupada about it.
Tamal Krishna.
I think it was Tamal Krishna.
Okay. And, Prabhupada, he gave the analogy of the doctor, to cure. You can't just read a book on cures. You have to require the doctor. That was not on your own. You decide what and when you're going to do or how you're going to do it. So, of course, Prabhupada's thing was, this is not what we do. We don't, as I mentioned he always said, anywhere, Krishna's like a sweet ball. You don't try to zero in on some topic. Although I guess that's what we're supposed to do, right? But he said, and then that's what he said, first deserve, then desire. But he would, in the process, because they're defending themselves, it's just not something you would do for Prabhupada. It was not a good idea. And then he would literally, I called it the Nrsinga, his Nrsinga feature. His lips would quiver. I don't even want to smile, because it was a serious anger. Because it was the only thing that could damage the society, was making changes to what he gave us. He knew. And that's why he was so against any kind of change. Because one little thing, when it's like that, and you're 1 degree off, go down the road, that 1 degree just becomes this big gaping hole that you can't do anything with anymore. That's why it wasn't that there weren't things that needed changing to some degree, but the damage caused by doing it was greater than the change. Making the change was more damaging. I don't know if I said, making the change was more damaging than leaving something. Because when do you stop? That's what he said. You never know when to stop. He always said, you Americans. He loved us and hated, and that's it. Something that's good always has that other side. It's always the razor's edge. So the very ability that Westerners had to take the movement and run with it, right? That's what they do in the West. Look at, Starbucks, McDonald's, the way they sell and everything. It all comes out of here. You go in these stores, they got little things in there. Everybody's connected to everything, watching everyone. So that all comes out of the West, So he said, you're so expert. But look how dangerous that is. You take something and it becomes unrecognizable. So he always wanted his society recognized for how he established it. So that's how we show our loyalty. By understanding Prabhupada knew what he was doing. So that I don't remember so many specific things, but it was very similar to when one of his previous servants, Devananda, who was a Swami, he had left Prabhupada 70, 71 or something. And he stayed in India. He grew his hair, beard, all. Anyway, I think we were in Hyderabad or Ahmedabad. And somehow he came to see Prabhupada. And he's dressed in bright red cloth. And he's got long hair, here kind of matted, and looked very bizarre. His eyes and looked like. And he kind of sits before Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was always very gracious, so he received him. And then Prabhupada was trying to talk to him, and he's just doing all these mudras in front of Prabhupada. And I don't even know what he was doing. Brahmananda's there, and he just starts doing this stuff, and Prabhupada and he looked at Brahmananda. He said, remove him, which he was the right person. Brahmananda, he was a wrestler in school. I mean, besides his massive, he was very strong, very powerful. He wrestled my son at our house one time. My son was 18 on the wrestling team in school, and at the time, he was probably 50s or something. Anyway, they had a good time on the living room floor. But he was and he just grabbed him and got rid of him. But it was always about philosophy, because that's the only thing. He saw us foolish children having our illicit activities, intoxication, illicit sex, and he knew this is going to go away eventually, but it'll go away. But if you go off what he's given us, there's no cure. How do you cure it once it's happened? Like, Pandora's box, once you open it, it can't be closed until there's someone powerful enough that can do it. But how often does that happen? So that's what change is all about. It's not even that things don't need it. It's just that we don't know when to stop. And it's every facet of this society it attacks. The deity worship, the books, the offerings in the kitchen. It's everywhere. What are we going to do? We've got to take a stand. We've got to speak up. Those that know have an obligation. Not just me. I'm not the only one that knows what's going on. And I'm just a lowly grahasta. I've been married many times. I don't have a voice. But some of you are very powerful. You've got voices. Got to speak up. Save Prabhupada's society. Any comments? Got a little serious for a minute, sorry. I don't get serious very often. Srila Prabhu.
Tell the story about your going off to swim, and you ended up going by yourself.
Yes. Twice. Once I went off with Brahmananda. Let me tell that one along with Brahmananda. A little nice to hear about him. We have some time. We went to Kurukshetra. As I said, it was another one of those episodes. Should I go or should I stay? Everyone told him, rest. Prabhupada went. 4-hour drive. You always stop for prasadam. One of the most fun stops was on the way to Mayapur, the Mango Grove. It became a very special stop every time. Anyway, we stop, we get there, and it's some kind of Bhagavad Gita Sapta. All the Hindu groups, they all came together to Kurukshetra. And their idea was to build a temple, a unifying temple that everyone could be part of. So they invited Prabhupada to go. I don't know what it was about. I'm not quite sure Prabhupada understood fully what was happening either. It was an opportunity to speak. And he knew that, and he was going to speak. So we get there. It's Kurukshetra. Must be the summertime. It's hot. And this is like in desert area. It's so hot. And there's what do you call it? Irrigation channel. It's concrete. They're all over. And it's V-shaped like that, right? Just smooth concrete. Kind of flat at the bottom and V-shaped on the sides. Probably one side to the other was maybe 6 feet, 8 feet. So after we get Prabhupada set up, Brahmananda and I decided to go for a swim. So we walked, because we saw that, and it looked it looked like very cool water and everything, and it's moving along this channel, which we didn't think about, what was going to happen. And where we went in, like 50 feet down, was all these concrete things that shot out of the water to slow the water down, because the velocity would just get so fast to slow it down. So we jump in, and as soon as we jump in, it's like, we're like floating down this thing. Like immediately it was panic. So we try to get out, but we can't claw our ways out of this, right? Of course, and we can't get out. But in a couple places there were these wires, just like, just metal wire. They weren't sharp or anything round. They just kind of hang. So we both managed to grab different wires. I'm like 10 feet in front of him, and he's there. Brahmananda, he was Brahmananda. He was big Brahmananda. He was a big devotee in every way, Brahmananda. Every way. He was big. And because I wasn't, not so big in any way, I climbed out of there, frantic. And as soon as I get out, I start running towards Brahmananda, and he's hanging on for his life. Because down there, it didn't look good. It wasn't good. And he's looking at me, and he says, "Sruta, grab me." And he's got one hand up, and he's like, "He's get my hand." And I'm looking at this 300 pound or more. And I'm like, I can't, if I do, we're both. And he said, "Get me," and he says, "Get me," And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Just hang on." And I run down to the thing. And right before these concrete dividers, there's stairs out. And I'm standing right there. And I said, "Let go." And I'm yelling. I mean, we're scared. I said, "Let go. I can get you." Anyway, I won because he had no choice. He let go. And I see him coming at me fast. And I'm thinking, no Christians, nothing's coming out. I'm just seeing this massive person coming towards me. And I grab him, and we get out. And there's people walking around, just no one even looks, Not a lot of people, but there's some people around. We've got our gumshes. We didn't lose our gumshes somehow or other. And we start walking back. And like I said, Brahmananda, now he was the next level up. Brahmananda, he wasn't a friend. He was senior godbrother, sannyasi, Prabhupada, everything. So we weren't friendly, but we were associates. And he looks at me, he says, "Sruti," he said, "I didn't even remember Krishna." And I looked at him. I said, "Whoa, I'm still not remembering Krishna." And we just walked back stunned, And we get into the room, and of course, Prabhupada said, "Everything all right?" "Yes, Prabhupada." Didn't say a word, So then a couple hours later, we're all sitting there, and there's one Swami after another getting up there in their, matted hairs, beards, all kinds of outfits, and saying who knows what, we don't know what's in. And Brahmananda's there, I'm there, Prabhupada's sitting there, and one after another they're talking. And Prabhupada's in his seat. I said, Prabhupada, I saw him do that 3 times. This was one of them. Because he's listening to this nonsense these people are saying in Kurukshetra. I'm not clear. Everything's in Hindi. And we're sitting. But it's very clear. Prabhupada doesn't enjoy it. The other one was Cardinal Danielou, and he was talking his nonsense, and Prabhupada's waiting. See, he would wait. He would allow people give them all their time to speak. He wasn't one of, interrupting, let you say your piece, and then boom. So I don't even know if he was called up, but he just gets up, after the person was done, and he gets on the microphone. And this is in front of a big, big Pandal crowd. And, we're hearing Aham Savasya Prabhavo, Tesham Satatato Yuktanam, Sarvanamam Parityajama. We're hearing one verse that, Prabhupada just laying it on. That we could hear. I knew a few verses then even. And so Prabhupada speaks for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And he gets up and just marching towards us, and it seemed like the end. It was over. Don't know what happened. And he come on, we're leaving. We went from his speaking to we're leaving. And we get in the ambassador, and we're next to Prabhupada. Brahmananda's in the front, the driver. And he said, "So you understood?" And well, Prabhupada, we understood some of the some of the verses you were quoting. He said, yeah, I told them. Oh, a bunch of fools and rascals. Oh, nonsense. You're here in Kurukshetra, where Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, and no one even mentions Krishna. No, he would say that. He would say those kind of things. You take away his eyes, you take away his mouth, you take away his personality. So he was saying this whole thing. He said, you'll never be successful. He said, I told them, this thing will never be successful. He blessed them. He gave him a blessing. Prabhupada never cursed, he blessed. And curses are blessings. So he blessed them. He said, oh, you'll never be successful. It's nonsense. He said, because you've rejected Krishna. Here in Kurukshetra, they're talking of building. So like that. And as we're driving down back this road, very few roads, we're on the main, this storm came up. So it's rainy season. This storm came up. It was going, so the whole pond was blowing away. We're in the car, we're driving on the road around trees. This is Prabhupada created. This was Prabhupada's anger. If you don't accept Krishna, not only not accept him, but to deny him. To deny him in the very place Bhagavad Gita comes from. Oh, he cursed them. He blessed them very nicely. So we watched, it was like a hurricane that lasted for 10 minutes or so. It was a big, storms in that area can be very, very ferocious. So the timing was wonderful. It's like Shyamasundar described the timing. And he asked George for money. I saw George at the manor. I met George. I didn't speak with him. I said something, but he would sit before Prabhupada, come in, and of course we knew George was coming. They would make, samosas and kachoris and gulab jamun. He'd come in the room, be sitting before Prabhupada, and he was so humble. He was so wonderful, George. And from what I saw, and also short, very, very little. So he'd sit and offer obeisances and prasadam, bring prasadam. No, Prabhupada, I just ate before. No, Prabhupada, bring prasadam, he'd say. All right, Prabhupada. He said, you have to take some prasadam. It was from the temple. Prabhupada wanted to give him prasadam. So he's taking, and Prabhupada's directing the ladies, more prasadam. Prabhupada, no, I can't eat any, I'm so full, I can't. Take prasadam. Prasadam can never hurt you. Figure that one out, everyone, huh? I put that one, then everybody's got something to say about what that means, But prasadam can never hurt you, he said. Eat. Yes, Prabhupada. Then he finishes, and of course Prabhupada give him attention. Always rub his head when he first came, rub Georgie's head. And then, so he said, so how is everything? And Prabhupada, he said, it's very difficult. He said, doing business and chanting 16 rounds. He said, it's not time. He said, but when I chant, I don't even want to do any of this business anymore. He said, but I don't know what to do. He said, you should do it. As Prabhupada said, you do what you do, And Prabhupada said, whenever you can, he said, you chant. He said, you chant, and whatever you can chant, you chant. He said, yes, Prabhupada. And then another day, what's his name? Allen Ginsberg was there. He came back from India with his little travel harmonium, came to see Prabhupada. First time I saw him, so I don't know how many years before he had seen Allen. Of course, he was a big help in the beginning for Prabhupada. So he had, how are you doing? Very good. I just came from India, and I, learned more mantras and things. And he said, I'd like to chant if I can. And Prabhupada said, yes, you can chant. And there's like 20 of us in the room or so. Everybody from the manor is there. So he starts playing the harmonium. Now, you know what? We're Prabhupada's, we're all Prabhupada's boys and girls, So he starts playing the harmonium. Just seeing that was enough. Om, and he was whining harmonium, We're all like looking at one another, and his eyes are closed, and Prabhupada's sitting, trying not to do much. And this went on for a minute or two. And then he said, now you can chant Hare Krishna. And he starts chanting Hare Krishna for a couple more minutes. And then he said, and now our Hansadutta, he can chant Hare Krishna. He turned it over to Hansadutta. So this is how Prabhupada, he did everything so gracefully, you know. He would give, and then he would see, and then he would make his adjustments. He always knew how to make his adjustments, bro. So then now you can turn over to Hansadutta. Oh, he chanted so wonderfully, Hansadutta. Yeah. Siddhanta Prabhu, or?
Well, there was a story you told me about that you and Nanda Devotee went swimming.
Oh, yes, okay. That's in Juhu.
Not just one, just you went.
Yes. That was Juhu in 75. And it was the three of us that I mentioned, me, Paramahamsa Swami, and Nitai. So Palika was cooking for Prabhupada. Somebody asked about Palika. Yes, she cooked for Prabhupada every day in Juhu. So for me, that changed my whole service. It gave me a lot of time. That was I was cooking and massaging Prabhupada at the same time. Your cooker's off in some room somewhere, and you're massaging him for at minimum of an hour and 15 minutes, up to 2 hours, while you've got dal, rice, and 5 or 6 different vegetables in this thing for 2 hours. And when you go there, it has to be cooked, but can't be mushy. I don't know how hearing that letter is interesting, because I was very calm. Internally, I was a mess, but I guess externally, I appeared very, very calm. And yeah, I was overall, but so I understand, because Paramahamsa, Prabhupada could get him excited, like Prabhupada didn't get me excited, thankfully. So anyway, this was always the challenge, but now Palika's cooking. So when I'm finished massage, I literally have an hour and a half, which I don't think Prabhupada's going to call me. Again, I forget that Prabhupada, he's not in the moods, so he knows everything. So if he wants to call me, if he knows I'm not in the room, which is anytime I'm not in the room, and he wants to call me, he can. But we're going to the beach, the three of us, every day. She's cooking. I don't have to be back until Prabhupada's up from his nap. So that was and the beach is, 2-minute walk from the temple. That's a Juhu. That's the beauty of Juhu. And a big, wide, long, flat beach. Prabhupada loved walking on it. It was a very nice walking beach because it's very flat and firm. And it goes on for very far. So, as soon as I finished massage, I had everything set for Prabhupada. The three of us would go, and we'd go sit on the beach, Juhu Beach, in the heat. No one else, like I said, mad dogs and Englishmen, and Hare Krishnas from the U.S. And we're going in the water. No one goes in the water. We're in the water, splashing around, just enjoying that we're with Prabhupada, but we're off on our own. So a couple days go by, and then Nitai, I have too much service to do. I'm falling behind on the translation work, and okay, now Paramahamsa and I are going every day. And he starts saying, I can't do this anymore, Shruti. He said, the letters, Prabhupada every day he's getting these letters, and he's answering them right away. It might take a month from the time someone writes a letter that it even gets to Prabhupada, because he's traveling. You could send a letter to one place, by the time it gets there, he's already somewhere else, and then they have to resend it. And so it was a long time. So, but Prabhupada answered promptly every letter. I mean, very, very promptly. There are lessons for all of us. I see, and nowadays it's so difficult. You don't answer somebody in an hour, they think you're mad at them or something. Why didn't you respond? I messaged you. Excuse me, But Prabhupada was and he answered every letter. And if there were 20 questions in the letter, he'd answer all 20 questions in the letter, in the order that they came. He took no preference. It was interesting to see how he didn't jump on something. He would just go right down, your first question, your second question, your third, he would answer them in time. Amen. So he dropped out, but I'm determined to enjoy my independence. If you haven't noticed, I'm very independent. To some degree, at least I try to be. And I'm going myself. And I just laid there for a little bit, so hot, and go in the water. It was really just getting away, just being able to get away and do something a little different. So anyway, Paramahamsa comes all the way to the beach. Better come back, Prabhupada wants to see you when he's really mad. That's always that enjoyable phrase. He's really mad at you, he says to me, he asked where you were, I told him, you thanks, Paramahamsa. So of course I get back, I go up the stairs, a couple flights of stairs, I go into Prabhupada's room. It's early afternoon, he's sitting very comfortably behind his desk. And I always say, there were different moods with Prabhupada. So there was offering obeisances in front of him, in front of his desk, where you were removed from him. And then there was offering obeisances beside his seat, Then you're right next to him. So the door was in such a way that I literally walked in the door and he was right there, and I offer obeisances, and I'm just waiting for it, to get blasted, and I look up. And I said, you wanted to see me? See, this is my, I have to see what's going on. It's not like I said, I heard you, Prabhupada, I'm sorry. No, I'm fishing. And Prabhupada, he's looking at this little kid fishing. He's playing with me. So you wanted to see me? No. So now I have to start. Now what do I say? How do I find out? You didn't want to see me? No. Paramahamsa said you wanted to see me. So then I commit. And I said, and you were upset because I was swimming. Oh, you went swimming? Like he's ignorant. And you went, yes, Prabhupada. Oh, swimming is a Vaishnava activity. Thank you. So it's okay? Yes, it's okay. He says, you went by yourself? Then I expect, yes, it's okay. I never went to the beach again. That was that. It was okay, but don't do it. It was that kind of an okay. But he never said anything. So that was what it was like. It was, So the one time I was in there waiting to really get, he said, it's a Vaishnava activity. So then we go to Hawaii. And of course I'm telling the temple president, swimming's a Vaishnava activity. Prabhupada said, and he said in Hawaii, he said, yes, he said, this devotee should swim every day. And like the temple president's like, he's got coming out of his ears, Prabhupada, we're not going to get anything done. Oh, well, once a week, he said they should go. Well, Prabhupada was, where I live next to the beach, I go in the water and I go there, take bath in the morning. You do whatever's practical. But our goal is just remember Krishna, that's all. Even we see Prabhupada, you can go in the water, and Prabhupada, we see that Prabhupada in the water in Jamuna. I told you in Perth, there was that swimming pool. Prabhupada would take his massage and then he'd jump in the pool. He would bathe in the pool. It was always fun, just to see. So that was my swimming adventure. Prabhu.
Srutakirti Prabhu, you had mentioned that Srila Prabhupada was shaking his leg in 3 instances, Cardinal, Danalu.
Ooh, you're going to ask me the third.
And I wonder what the third, yeah.
Let me meditate on that. We were on the plane once, and I was doing that. And he said, don't do that. It's very bad. That was it. I never asked. That was always I didn't want to know. I figured I knew, So I didn't say anything. Very bad, he said. But he did it out of those moments. I'll eventually remember this third instance.
He told Lokanath Maharaj.
He told him the same, yes.
Don't do that.
I still see him do. It's a hard, sometimes it's just a habit. I watch, my wife and I, we watch Vrindavan Mangal Artik every day at 1 in the afternoon. Not because that's when we get up, but we just attach. Yeah, Hawaii. Just lie there and have a good time. No, because we're very attached to Krishna Balaram Mandir. And another thing we watch is, we like Gopi Geet. You could go on, I think it's a YouTuber, anyways, Lokanath Maharaj, he chants Gopi Gita, which is very beautiful. They do during Kartik in Vrindavan. It's the most beautiful song, and he sings it so beautifully. But I was watching, and I saw that, I said, see that? I said, Prabhupada said, don't do that. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta churn in there. Yes, Maharaj.
Recently I heard from Srila Prabhu. He was mentioning how it was you and Prabhupada in Tokyo in 1972? No, 73?
I wasn't I was only in the airport in Tokyo. Unless it's about the airport, I wasn't there.
It was about, you were discussing, or you asked Prabhupada a question about change. And then you said about how he changed things.
Okay, that was the Philippines. That was my very first, again, 2 weeks with Prabhupada. So we're in a hotel room. Burajan was there. So he had a lot of very personal very early association with Prabhupada. Him and his wife, they would give him different gifts, very special, like personal gifts, little, jewelry kind of boxes and things, donation. So he's in there. And then Prabhupada started talking. And he's talking to Burajan. And again, I'm right behind Prabhupada, massaging his back and his head. And he says to him, he says, we're successful because I have brought women into the society. He said, I made that adjustment. He said, when I came to your country, he said, I studied. He said, I observed. I said, oh, Prabhupada, he would say that at different times. Like he told me, he said, I learned how to cook by watching my mother. He said, my mother taught her how to cook. He said, but I learned just by watching. He made a point, and he said it in different things. He learned things just by watching. That was his level, his intelligence. He was saying like that. Huh? I would watch. Okay, again, where am I? So.
Philippines.
Yes. So he says like that. He said, and my godbrothers criticize me because I have allowed women into the society. He said, but by doing that, he said, we're successful, but still they criticize. Even I'm so successful. He said, but I studied your people and I knew there was no question of spreading Krishna consciousness without women in the West. It wasn't going to have temples filled with brahmacharis and sannyasis. He said, so I made that adjustment. He said, and they criticize, he said, but when they have festivals in Mayapur, or wherever, he said, who goes? Women in white, widows. Their temples are filled with, he says, no one goes except widows, but they criticize me for bringing women. He was going back to Vrindavan for a month. These are things that take so long to see. Now, Prabhupada, how he's doing things, how he was, and I'm speculating, but he was headed to Vrindavan for the entire month of Kartik, and he was going to show, that was the beginning, he was going to show them right there in Vrindavan who he was. That's what he was doing. He was showing who he was and what he could do. But they criticized. So I'm massaging his back. And I asked Prabhupada, one of the very few questions I ever asked him, and it was one of the most intelligent questions. I said, what's the difference between changing a principle and making an adjustment? Burajan printed, when I read it, I thought, wow, I said that. And Prabhupada, it just got quiet, and then he said, that requires a little intelligence. And that was the end of that. But that's how he transformed the world. Because you can't, how he would transform the world if you leave out 50% of everyone. Just didn't make any sense. And Prabhupada realized, I have to do what I have to do. But he never changed the principles. And that's the art we have to learn. How to make proper adjustments in a way that just doesn't make everything, just destroy everything. Because there are always you have to adjust. But it requires a little intelligence. It requires some very serious prayer at our level, I think.
I remember it was the difference between a principle and a detail, and how to understand the difference.
Yeah. No, principles, you don't mess with principles in Krishna consciousness. You can't mess with it. Can't change it. Anything else? 7:30, we can... Any questions, comments? We have tomorrow evening. Gaurav?
We know that Srila Prabhupada established the GDC. Is the GDC a principle?
It was a principle his guru established.
Yeah.
See, he didn't do anything that hadn't been,
Right.
That's what he did it the exact same thing. He left in the exact same way, kind of, he just left it up to, always you have to have choice. There's never going to be a dictation to do something that might not happen. I was a brahmachari with Prabhupada. I was a devotee now for, 2.5 years or something. I was in a temple. And Prabhupada got a letter from one of his temple presidents saying he wanted to get divorced and remarried. I heard Prabhupada on the Vyasasana 100 times. No way, it's not possible. Can't do it. So he's responding to the letter. And he tells them, okay. In a few words, briefly, basically he said, all right, it's okay. I'm behind Prabhupada. I'm always behind him, where I'm supposed to be. I'm massaging him, and when he said that, I just thought, huh? Because I knew Prabhupada. I thought I knew him. And I thought, no, he never says such a thing. And he said that. This was noontime. For 10 hours, I just wanted to talk to Prabhupada. But you can't. You can't say anything. I missed my chance. I could have said something then maybe if I really had a lot of nerve while I was talking with the secretary. There was no, but then I just couldn't bring it up. But it bothered me. And now it's nighttime, I'm massaging him. And of course I meditated on it for a long time. That was the one thing, why I also was, I think there, I never just said something to Prabhupada. I would, my head would go over and over. And then I would, if I say this, what's Prabhupada going to say? If he says this, then this is how my mind worked. And I'm massaging him and he's sitting there just beautifully lying on the bed. But I'm thinking, why did he change that? To me, that was a principle. And I had to, and I just said, Prabhupada, this morning, that devotee wanted permission for divorce. Yes, I told him it was okay. Before I could even say anything, as soon as I said it, yes, I told him it's okay. I said, yes, Prabhupada, I know. I said, but you always say it's not possible. He said, well, in your country, he said, these things are going on. I knew that was coming. That's what I knew. Imagine, you're playing this, Prabhupada's playing with you. So I figured, well, he's going to say something like this. And then my comeback was, well, so is intoxication. These are all going on in this country, but obviously, then immediately, he said yes. He said, if I tell him he can't do it, he's going to do it anyway. He said, so this way, the offense, not so great. He told me how he dealt with us. It's how he dealt with me all the time. He never said, do. The choice was always there. He always made a choice. He left it up to you. Not because he doesn't care, because he cares so much that he doesn't want you to be offensive. Doesn't want me to be offensive. So he just lays it out there. He lets you know so many different ways. Krishna gives us so many different ways. He shows us what we're supposed to do. But demands, they're very infrequent. I saw Prabhupada tell a senior GBC sannyasi, didn't want to do something Prabhupada told him. And it escalated and escalated. And I'm sitting in the corner, couldn't believe it. Anyone could talk to their spiritual master in such a way. I wasn't one I didn't understand anyone's relationship with Prabhupada. I didn't understand my own. I just sat there in the corner. I was literally cowering in the corner. Gotta do, no, I gotta go. Back and forth. Back and forth, and it's getting louder and louder and louder. I'd never seen it before. It was 1974. I'd never seen such a thing. I'm sitting there. And finally, Prabhupada just looked at him. He said, chant your 16 rounds, follow the principles, do any damn thing you want. He said, go. That's the pure devotee. He couldn't even tell him what to do because everything's voluntary. And it's always like that. Everything we do. So we have to pick up that and do the right thing. At least the most important things. We've got to take up Prabhupada's cause. Because he's not going to force us. That's why he left like he did. We have to make all the decisions how to do it right. All the ammunition are there. Read my books. Everything's there, he said. All right. Can I tell one more story? We'll end today. Try to end on something a little. This was another chastisement story. I don't think I told. I was massaging Prabhupada at the manor. I didn't mention that here, did I? Yeah. At the manor, yes. So I'm massaging him. I was with him for a year, so I know everything now. I knew massage, how to do, when to stop. Although he told me, you stop when I tell you to stop. That's what it was to be with Prabhupada. You didn't, I'm saying I was always independent. You had no independence. Every move you made had to be for him. So anyway, I'm massaging his head and I massage his back. I got the bottle of sandalwood oil, precious, it's like gold sandalwood oil. Bottle of mustard oil, not like gold. But as I'm moving around, I left the cap off. So when I went to the side, I knocked over the bottle of mustard oil. This is at the manor. It's a shiny wooden floor. And as soon as it fell over, Prabhupada tried to grab it, but he didn't get it in time. Same thing happened to Hari Sari. Hari Sari said, it didn't even spill a drop. He was so fast. Prabhupada picked it up. I said, well, that didn't happen with me. That's why when I see these things, you just see it over and over. The Chamara fan, all these, it happens to all of us. Anyway, that happened, and he just said, you fool, you'll be intelligent when you're 80. That was it. I would become depressed immediately. And the whole room, and the sun went away, it's raining on us. That's how I felt. Prabhupada yelled at me, that was it. And he said, go get a katuri. You all know it, it's just a little cup. The thali has katuris. Go get a katuri. I run out of the room. I don't even think I paid obeisance. It's probably the only time I just ran out of there. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I was so upset. I cooked for Prabhupada at the manor in a closet. It was 3 feet wide, maybe 8 foot long closet. That was my kitchen. It was right outside Prabhupada's room. So I ran into the closet. I got the katuri. I run back in. I put it up. Now I offer obeisances. And Prabhupada, as soon as I put it down, Prabhupada sticks his hand right in this puddle of oil, mustard oil. And he goes, do like I am. And he gets it and he scrapes it into the cup. So the two of us for the next couple of minutes are scraping mustard oil off the floor into the cup. And it's quiet. That's what, he got quiet. Now, maybe nothing is going on, but Prabhupada, he's really angry with me. And again, my head never thinks just saying, I'm sorry. Furthest thing from my mind. Really. I never said, I'm sorry to Prabhupada. I could have said it every day, many times. I never said it once. But I'm thinking, what do I do to resolve this as we're doing this and scraping it in? I'm trying to think of how to fix it without just saying, I'm sorry, it'll never happen again, I'm sorry. because what does that mean? See, to me, sorry is a very, I'm sorry. Well, then change. It happened because it always happens, So I didn't say that. And then he looks at me as we get it all off the floor. And the floor is shiny, but it worked, You get it in your hand, you scraped it into the cup. And he said, you can massage me with that oil. So it was evident he wasn't pleased with me. Now I have to massage him with dirty mustard oil off. Prabhupada's room is spotless. But there's little dusty things, and I'm rubbing and I'm picking things out. And he's just, when he's got the Tulsi chain in gold, he used to wear it when I did his back and all. He'd put it around his ears. So it would go down his ears and around. It was like the Govardhan. You see Govardhan. He'd have it around his neck, gold and Tulsi chain. And then eventually it would drop down. So as I'm going to all the different parts of his body, it's another 40 minutes. Not one word, not one look. He's there sitting with legs out. Sometimes he's got his hands down. And I'm just, and I'm thinking of what he said to me, So I get to his feet. I'm running out of time. Just like that brahmachari. I don't know more. It's like the final moments. And it requires a lot of, for me, scary. Prabhupada. I said, thank you. I said, I thought it would take a lot longer for me to become intelligent. He starts laughing and laughing and laughing, and he's slapping his knee, and tears are coming. And I'm serious. This was my, Prabhupada, he said, he had a sense of, I like to make Prabhupada laugh. That was my thing. He was always making everyone laugh. I wanted him to laugh, and that was how I was going to resolve it. And just like a long time ago, somehow or other, he did exactly what I thought was going to happen. I said that, and he started laughing and laughing and laughing and slapping. And he said, very good, he said, when we were children, somebody did some foolish thing, we would say that, you'll be intelligent when you're 80. He said, and I've used it on you. But I took it as a great blessing, because what does it mean to be intelligent? That's what I took it as become Krishna conscious, right? That's real intelligence. So I said, you blessed me, Prabhupada. So I was at the time 23 years old when he did that, 22 years old. So now I'm 67. So I'm trying to hang in there and live to 80.
13 more years.
13, yeah, I almost lost it last year. I wasn't here last year. I actually got very serious, almost died. So I always thought it was a given, because Prabhupada said I'll be intelligent when I'm 80, that I was going to live that long because Prabhupada said, And I still actually feel like that, but now I'm thinking it could be very treacherous rest of the time if I'm not careful. So we'll see what happens. But that was my favorite story, because I truly felt blessed by Prabhupada. Okay, we'll finish here. Thank you all very much. We'll see you again tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.